Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, viewers. Today we are focusing on the topic of the affordability of healthcare. Healthcare is a significant concern in the United States, with a recent study indicating that nearly half of Americans are struggling to afford healthcare services and medication. With the rising costs, financial hardship, and medical debt, the affordability of healthcare services increasing, placing a burden on individuals and families. With many of Americans are postponing or avoiding medical care due to cost, leading to delayed diagnosis and treatment, which can have negative health outcomes. Health insurers submit rate annually to state regulations that ulang miss, susah miss. Half of Americans are struggling to afford healthcare services and medication. With the rising cost, financial hardship, and medical debt, the cost of healthcare services increasing, placing a burden on individuals and families. With many Americans are postponing or avoiding medical care due to cost, leading to delayed diagnosis and treatment, which can have negative outcomes. Health insurers submit rate filing annually to state regulations detailing expectations and rate changes for Affordable Care Act or ACA. Regulations health plans for the coming year, a relatively small but growing share of the Terus ketinggalan jauh. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, viewers. Today we are focusing on the topic of the affordability of healthcare. Healthcare is now a significant concern in the United States, with a recent study indicating that nearly half of Americans are struggling to afford healthcare service and medication. With the rising costs, financial hardship, and medical debt, the cost of healthcare services increasing, placing a burden on individuals and families. With many Americans are postponing or avoiding medical care due to costs, leading to delayed diagnosis and treatment, which can have negative health outcomes. Healthcare insurers submit the rate filing annually to state regulations detailing expectations and rate changes for Affordable Care Act or ACA. Regulations health plans for the coming year, a relatively small but growing share of the population to medical care in the plans composed to the number in employer plans. For 2025, across 324 insurers participating in the 50 states and DC, the analysis showed that medication postponed premium increase of 7%, which is similar to last year. Based on a more detailed analysis of publicly available documents for each insurers in 10 states and DC, growth health care placing a stud of a key factor during cost in 2024, indicating an inflation insurers of a mentioned increase, utilizing in weight loss and after especially due to inflation. Premium pandemic-related costs and the unwinding of medical communication coverage are in any impact on individuals' markets. Our news for today. I'm Irene Fahira Nur Aini from class 9-2, live from Al-Azhar. Have a great day and see you next time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, viewers. In a city where words shape future, take view of the nation's future. Speaking at the closing of the 6th Democratic Party Congress in Jakarta, President Prabowo expressed his surprise over the term Indonesia Gelap. Emphasizing the country's promising prospect, he cited a projection by Goldman Sachs which ranked Indonesia as the world's fourth largest economy by 2050, following China, the United States, and India. According to Prabowo, the position Indonesia ahead of developed nations like Germany, Japan, the United Kingdom, and France. Prabowo questioned the narrative of a dark Indonesia, stating, Indonesia is above Japan, above the UK, above France. Why is it considered dark? He urged the public to recognize the nation's potential and the government efforts to enhance the welfare of its people, particularly the youth. The term Indonesia Gelap has been used by students and activists to express his dissatisfaction with current economic and social conditions, suggesting a bleak outlook for the nation's future. In response, Prabowo emphasized the government's commitment to economic and reforms and social welfare, aiming to create a brighter future for all Indonesians. As the debate continues, the nation watches closely to see how the government will address the concerns of its citizens and work towards a more prosperous Indonesia. In the days to come, we'll see whether promises turn into action or if the winds of change will shift the course of the nation. For now, we wait and watch as the story continues to evolve. Stay with us from Al-Azhar 35 Junior High School, Karawang. Thank you for tuning in. Good afternoon, viewers. In a city where words shape futures and decisions echo far beyond these walls, today marks a pivotal moment in the political arena. I'm Aisyah Cantika Akbar, reporting live from Al-Azhar 35 Junior High School, Karawang, where the nation's attention is fixed on what could be a game-changing move. President Prabowo Subianto has addressed the growing student protest under the banner Indonesia Gelap or Dark Indonesia, questioning the pessimistic view of the nation's future. Speaking at the closing of 6th Democratic Party Congress in Jakarta, President Prabowo expressed his surprise over the term Indonesia Gelap, emphasizing the country's promising prospects. He cited a projection by Goldman Sachs which ranked Indonesia as the world's fourth largest economy by 2050, following China, the United States, and India. According to Prabowo, this position Indonesia is like Germany, Japan, the United Kingdom, and France. Prabowo questioned the narrative of a dark Indonesia its people, particularly the youth. The term Indonesia Gelap has been used by students and activists to express dissatisfaction with current economy and social conditions, suggesting a bleak outlook for the nation's future. In response, Prabowo emphasized the government's commitment to economic reforms and social welfare, aiming to create a brighter future for all Indonesia. As the debate continues, the nation watches closely to see how the government will address the concerns of its citizens and work toward a more prosperous Indonesia. In the days to come, we'll see whether promises turn into action or if the winds of change will shift of the course of the nation. For now, we wait and watch as the story continues to evolve. Stay with us for more updates. I'm Aisyah Cantik Akbar, reporting. Udah
Good morning, viewers. Today's topic is Trump tariff that apply in Indonesia. Indonesia has finally decided to negotiate with the United States about Trump tariff that will take effect on April 9, 2025. Not only Indonesia, but also Asian countries have compact chosen to negotiate with the United States. This tariff aims to get U.S. citizens to buy Good morning, Indonesia. Indonesia has finally decided to negotiate with the United States about Trump tariff that will take effect on April 9, 2025. Not only Indonesia, but also Asian countries have compact chosen to negotiate with the United States. This tariff aims to get U.S. citizens to buy American-made goods, so it can increase the country's economy. With this tariff, Trump also wants more foreign companies to open in the U.S. In the opening session after the Eid holiday on April 8, 2025, the composite stock price index fell 9.19%. The rupiah exchange rate also fell to 17,261 rupiah per US dollar. Indonesia goods sold to the US will be subject to a 32% tariff. Indonesia exports a lot of electronic, textile, footwear, and several other goods and material. As a result, the price of goods will increase on the market. From there, the demand for goods will decrease, which will ultimately reduce the number of export and can reduce the income of export companies from Indonesia. Finance Minister Sri Mulyani said that the world economy is currently in uncertainty. This tariff policy shows that the world economy is no longer managed with basic benchmark, so that there's no more certainty. The impact could result in decreased purchasing power, decreased tax revenues, and increased poverty rates. That's revenue for today. I'm Alexa reporting live from Al-Azhar. See you next time.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening. Langit bisa gak? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, viewers. Nearly 3 months ago in San Jose, California, NVIDIA, a corporation that makes graphic processing units, application programming interface, and system on chips, has managed to make humanoid robots and showcase them back at March 19, 2025. Teksnya kelamaan, Bu. The CEO, Jensen Huang, believes that the humanoid robots are less than 5 years away from seeing wide use in manufacturing facilities. He unveiled software tools that he said would help humanoid robots navigate the world more easily. When speaking to the group of journalists after the speech, Jensen Huang was asked what science will show that AI has become ubiquitous. Among other answers, Huang said that it may be when literally humanoid robots are wandering around, which is not 5 years away. This is not 5 years away problem, but this is a few years away problem. The manufacturing industry would likely adopt the humanoid robots first because the industry has well-defined tasks that robots can handle in the controlled environment. His side we'll see how the technology evolve in the future. That's all for the news today. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day. I'm Bernice Aurel reporting. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. This is Arjo Cakrasudarsana, bringing you the latest development of the world of technology and education. The development of artificial intelligence, or AI, is progressing at an unprecedented pace. This groundbreaking technology continues to evolve in support of science and innovation, including in the field of education. However, alongside its many benefits, AI has sparked serious concern among educators and policymakers. In the recent months, the education sector has been deeply impacted by the growing use of AI, which many believe will lead to increased academic dishonesty. A viral TikTok video showed a university student completing a thesis using ChatGPT with ease. Meanwhile, in India, a concerning trend has emerged: AI with exam cheating service offered for fees reaching hundreds of millions of rupiah. Despite this challenge, it's important to recognize the positive potential of AI in education. A recent study published in Educational Evaluation and Policy Analysis revealed that AI-powered automated feedback tools can enhance student learning in the classroom and support educators in refining their teaching practice. Once again, I'm Arjo Cakrasudarsana as you continue to navigate the future of education in the digital age. Stay informed, stay critical, and stay with us for more insightful update. Thank you for watching. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone. Today I will be delivering a short report about technology. Computer is a machine that handles information automatically. It can perform calculation and process data quickly. Computer can work with number to solve problem in just a few seconds. That can also remember a great deal of information. That is why computers are widely used in places such as banks, offices, and companies. Computer work like calculator, but most calculator can only do one thing at a time. We give them commands by pressing various buttons. To do the same work, we can give a computer a series of instructions called a computer program. Once a program is set up, the computer can do all the work automatically without further help or instruction. A computer stores and handles numbers. That numbers may be mathematical formulas, column, or figure, or codes that represent letters of the alphabet, words, or instruction for the computer. Computer can also be used communication through the internet. Computer allow us to send messages, make video calls, and search for information from around the world. In education, computer help students learn through various applications and online learning research. In the field of design and art, computers are used to create digital image, animation, and music. Thank you for your attention. I'm Edlin Argia Putra Zuhri, report. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning viewers. Have a nice greeting with me. Today I will give you news about AI. So first of all, let's see about what is AI. Artificial intelligence or AI is a branch of computer science that aims to make computer capable of performing tasks that normally require human intelligence. These include abilities such as learning, problem solving, decision making, and even creativity. AI allows machines to mimic the ability to think and act like humans, albeit in limited context. The use of AI has a wide and varied impact, both positive and negative. Positively, AI can increase efficiency, productivity, and innovation in various sectors, such as health, transportation, and education. Wherever, on the other hand, AI also raises concerns about unemployment, privacy and data security issues, and potential bias and discrimination. Here is it divided into two, namely positive impact. Number one, AI can automate repetitive tasks, allowing humans to focus on more creativity and strategic work. Number two, AI can provide more personalized experience, such as product recommendations tailored to user preference or learning tailored to individuals' needs. Number three, AI can analyze complex data quickly and accurately, helping in better decision making across various sectors. The second is negative impact. Excessive use of AI can make humans too dependent on technology, which can reduce the ability to think critically and make independent decisions. Number two, AI can be used for malicious purposes, such as creating fake videos or audio, deepfake, or for military purpose. Number three, AI require access to personal data to founding, which can pose risk of privacy and data security breaches. That's all for today's news coverage. I'm Faira Zahri. Thank you for listening. See you next time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Gufronik. Ulang. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone. In early March 2025, Bekasi, in city West Java, Indonesia, experienced severe flooding due from wrong heavy and rainfall and overflowing rivers. Disaster affected over 16,000 residents and inundating homes, roads, and public facilities. The floods impacted thousands of residents across Bekasi, including those in upscale areas like Grand Galaxy City. Local authorities, including the Bekasi Disaster Mitigation Agency, along with soldiers, police officers, and volunteers, are involved in rescue operation. Torretia Ranslade, rivers such as the Bekasi, Cikarang, Cibubur River overflowing, causing waters up to 8 meters deep in some areas. The flooding disrupt daily lives, some bridge vehicles, and forced the evacuation of residents. The flooding began on March 3, 2025, following continuous heavy rainfall. By March 4, the situation had escalated, prompting emergency response. Affected area include 7 sub-districts in Bekasi District. such as Cibarusa, Serang Baru, Setu, North Cikarang, Cibitung, North Tambun, and Bojongmangu. The flooding was caused by a combination of prolonged heavy rainfall, water flow from upstream Lake Bogor, and accumulated drainage system that prevented quick receding of flood water. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning everyone. On Friday, March 28, 2025 at 2:45 local time, powerful 7.8 magnitude earthquake occurred in Myanmar. The epicenter was near of the city of Mandalay and about 25 kilometers deep. The tremors were felt very strongly in even neighboring countries like Bangladesh and Thailand. Thousands of residents were impacted by the earthquake. Many buildings were severely damaged and some roads were blocked by debris, forcing people to evacuate to safer areas. Tectonic plates movement in a known earthquake-prone area is the cause of the earthquake. According experts, concern regarding potential aftershocks have been raised by this. Myanmar's largest earthquake to date in 2025, the Myanmar government has deployed rescue teams to the affected areas and set an emergency aid post. Additionally, humanitarian aid has started to come in from several neighboring countries. Residents are being urged by the local authorities in the remain alert and follow their direction. I'm Fabian Alvaro reporting, and I'll take Malif.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Givari Zaki, will accompany you on afternoon news for the next minute. Bad news coming from the one of the mountains in Malang, forest fire on Mount Bromo. Please stay tuned for more on this news. A forest fire erupted at Mount Bromo due to a flare used during a pre-wedding photoshoot, causing concern over its environmental and tourism impact. The incident occurred on September 4th, when a couple ignited dry vegetation with a flare during their photoshoot. Strong winds and dry conditions fueled the fire, resulting in a significant forest blaze. Local authorities and firefighters responded swiftly, including deploying helicopters with water buckets for aerial firefighting. The fire has affected a substantial portion of Mount Bromo National Park, renowned for its stunning landscapes. While no injuries among visitors have been reported, the fire has had a severe impact on local wildlife and sensitive ecosystem. Consequently, Mount Bromo has temporarily closed to tourists to prioritize firefighting and safety. Well, that's all the news for today. I'm Farizaki. I'll take my leave. Thank you for your attention and see you next time and have a nice day. Bu, ulang sekali lagi, Bu. Kurang, ayo mantap, Bu. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Gifarizaki, will accompany you on afternoon news for the next minute. Bad news coming from the one of the mountains in Malang, forest fire on Mount Bromo. Please stay tuned for more on this news. A forest fire erupted at Mount Bromo due to a flare used during a pre-wedding photoshoot, causing concern over its environmental and tourism impact. The incident occurred on September 4th when a couple ignited dry vegetation with a flare during their photoshoot. Strong winds and dry conditions fueled the fire, resulting in a significant forest blaze. Local authorities and firefighters responded swiftly, including deploying helicopters with water buckets for aerial firefighting. The fire has affected a substantial portion of Mount Bromo National Park, renowned for its stunning landscapes. While no injuries among visitors have been reported, the fire has had a severe impact on local wildlife and sensitive ecosystem. Consequently, Mount Bromo has temporarily closed to tourists to prioritize firefighting and safety. Well, that's all the news for today. I'm Gifarizaki. I'll take my leave. Thank you for your attention. See you next time and have a nice day.
Good afternoon, viewers. I'm Ibnati Antayakrisna Munandar, and this is today's news. Dayakolot Main Road in Bandung paralyzed by floods. Residents use boats. Flooding once again hit Jalan Raya Dayakolot in Bandung Regency on Friday, March 7, 2025. Water levels exceeding 1 meter submerged the main road connecting Dayakolot and Baleendah, making it impassable for vehicles. As a result, residents were forced to seek alternative means of transportation. Rina, 32, a factory worker, shared her struggle commuting to work. I usually ride my motorbike, but now I have to take rent but 10,000 rupiah per trip. Even then, it's crowded and I have to wait in line, she said. Similarly, Adi, 28, a shop worker in Baleendah, had to resort to using a horse-drawn cart after his motorbike stalled in the flooded street. The horse craft very expensive and I was late for work, Adi explained. This is not first flood it. Miss, bentar, Miss. Jauh banget. Ulang. Aku kurang, Miss. Sorry. Good afternoon, viewers. I'm Ibnati Antayakrisna Munandar, and this is today's news. Dayakolot Main Road in Bandung paralyzed. Miss, maaf, Miss, itu gak kelihatan HP-nya. Good afternoon, viewers. I'm Ibnati Antayakrisna Munandar. Miss. Good afternoon, viewers. I'm Ibnati Antayakrisna Munandar, and this is today's news. Dayakolot Main Road in Bandung paralyzed by floods. Residents use boats. Flooding once again hit Jalan Raya Dayakolot in Bandung Regency on Friday, March 7, 2025. Water levels exceeding 1 meter submerged the main road connecting Dayakolot and Bandung Baleendah, making it impassable for vehicles. As a result, residents were forced to seek alternative means of transportation. Rina, 32, a factory worker, shared her struggle commuting to work. I usually ride my motorbike, but now I have to make a rent boat for 10,000 rupiah per trip. Even then, it's crowded and I have to wait in line, she said. Similarly, Adi, 28, a shop worker in Baleendah, had to resort to using a horse-drawn cart after his motorbike stalled in the flooded street. The horse cart very expensive, and I was late for work, Adi explained. This is not the first flood to hit this area. Residents report the similar accident occur nearly every rainy season, disrupting daily activities and causing economic losses. Many are hoping the government will take more decisive action to address the recurring flooding. Bandung Region, Danang Supriyatna stated the Dayakolot area now requires the availability of boats for resident evacuation during flood emergency. He also mentioned that the local government has plans to allocate funds for infrastructure improvement, that this include building new bridges, reinforcing embankments, and enhancing the drainage system in flood-prone areas to reduce the risks of the future disaster. That's all for now. We will continue to monitor the situation closely and provide updates as more information becomes available. Thank you for joining us and stay safe. I Ibnati Antayakrisna Munandar reporting.
Good morning, everyone. We're here today to discuss an earthquake with a magnitude of 20 of 10, 20 of 3 occurred Cianjur, West Java on Monday afternoon. The earthquake at depth of 10 km, earthquake at 20 to 8 WIB. As reading to BMKG, the earthquake was located at 6 of 82 zone latitude and 100 of West Java. Look at the experience was outland 2 kilometers northwest of Cianjur, said BMKG on its official Twitter account. The earthquake was felt in Chungeng of the areas was affected by the Cianjur earthquake in the area. The earthquake tremor scale was measured at MME. Based on BMKG's statement, the 3 MME scale means the two earthquake tremors were felt clearly in the house. The tremors felt as a truck was passing by. Facing the Cianjur areas was rocked by a magnitude 5 of 6 earthquake of November 21. As a result of this earthquake, 3 people were declared dead of Monday. In the accident, the Cianjur earthquake caused 703 people injured. 73690 people displaced and 9 people are in search. The evacuation process for victims brought by the earthquake is still going. That's our news for today. I'm Rafi, live with Al Azhar. See you next time.
Good morning, everyone. Today, the Governor of West Java, Dede Mulyadi, has revealed the criteria for problematic students who will be enrolled in military-style education program at barracks. These students include those involved in brawls, those who drink alcohol, and those who frequently play Mobile Legends. Brawler, drinker, Mobile Legends player, the one who stay up all night and only wake up in the afternoon, said Dede at the Parliament Building, Senayan, Jakarta. He further explained that misbehaved children who often oppose their parents and make threats also fall under this category. In addition, these children are typically the ones who frequently cause disturbance at school, skip class, or leave home pretending to go to school but never actually show up. We have all done that before, right? He added. Dedi Mulyadi has proposed a plan to place students who rapidly commit serious offense into a military environment where they all will be trained to develop discipline and sense of responsibility. This initiative is expected to begin on May 2nd, 2025, targeting specific area in West Java considering vulnerable and will be implemented in cooperation with the Indonesian National Armed Force and the National Police. He revealed that each student will undergo this military-style character building program for 6 months at one of 30 to 40 special barracks that have already been prepared by the Indonesian National Armed Force. During the 6-month period, students will be trained in barrack and will not attend formal school. Indonesian National Armed Force personnel will personally pick up students from their homes to begin the process of character and behavioral development. Dedi state. The program will be funded through collaboration between the West Java provincial government and the participating city and the district government. That's all for today. I'm Nabil Satria Utama reporting.
Bukannya kamu mau good morning dulu, Mas?
Good morning everyone. In recent years, the preservation of traditional culture in Indonesia has become a growing concern. Many of our beloved customs, dance and music, once passed down from generation to generation, are now at risk of fading away. The influence of modern technology and global trends has caused younger generation to become more distant from this tradition. As a result, the vibrant cultural heritage that has shaped Indonesia's identity faces the danger of being forgotten. This issue is not just about the loss of customs, it's about the diminishing in connection to our roots, which bind us as a nation. It is crucial that we find ways to keep this tradition alive for the future generation. Schools, local communities, and even the government have a role in this process. Educational programs, festivals, and cultural events play a vital part in ensuring that our traditions are appreciated and passed on. By taking pride in our cultural heritage and actively participating in its preservation, we not only honor the past, but also build a more unified and stronger future. The responsibility to preserve culture lies with all of us, and through our effort, we can ensure that Indonesia's rich heritage continue to thrive. May we always remember that our traditions are not just memories of the past, but the spirit that shape our future. Let us protect, celebrate, and pass them on, so that Indonesia's rich heritage will continue to live and inspire for generations to come. I'm Pandya Andika Prawilasmana, reporting.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening everyone. I am Muhammad Atarafiano. Today, I am going to deliver a report about Pertamina's corruption case. The large corruption case at Pertamina Company continues to be in the spotlight after the Attorney General's office revealed that state losses reached 193.7 Indonesian trillion in just 1 year, namely 2023. However, this figure is believed to still increase considering that this case has been going on since 2018 to 2023. However, to get the exact figures, further calculations are still needed involving financial experts. If using a simple estimate, assuming the losses each year are the same as in 2023, the total losses over 5 years could reach 968.5 trillion. However, Harley emphasized that this calculation is still rough, considering that there are various factors that influence the amount of loss each year. For example, whether each commandant in 2023 also took place in 2018, 2019, and 2020. So far, the Attorney General Office has named 7 suspects in this case. 4 of them are senior officials from Pertamina's subsidiaries or subholdings: Rifan Siahan, Yoki Fernandi, Sani Dinar Saifuddin, and Agus Purwono. While the other 3 suspects are brokers who are suspected of being involved in corrupt practice: IMCAR, beneficial owner, Navigator Katulistiwa Company, DW Commissioner of Navigator Company, Katulistiwa, and Commissioner of Jenggala Maritime Company, GRG Commissioner Jenggala Maritime, and Main Director Orbit Merak Terminal Company. The losses in this case over various components from crude oil imports to subsidies. Here are the details for 2023. Domestic crude oil exports lose Indonesian rupiah 35 trillion. Crude oil imports via brokers 2.7 trillion. Loss on fuel imports via broker 9 trillion. Loss on concession 126 trillion. Loss on 21 trillion. According to Harley, total loss can also be influenced by the quality of the fuel distributed. Thank you for your attention and thank you for listening to this report. I am Muhammad Atarafiano reporting. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone. Indonesian Minister of Culture Fadli Zon work visit at Global Media Dialogue Waves 2025 India. First of all, what is Wave 2025? World Audiovisual and Entertainment Summit or Waves 2025, is an initiative of the Indian government to bring together players in the digital media, traditional media, film, animation, and artificial intelligence sectors from around the world. On the work visit, various discussion themes were conducted by Fadli Zone, such as strengthening mutual diplomacy, social resilience, as well as economic growth. Not only that, the meeting was also used to promote Indonesian culture and film industry, following the success of the animated film Jumbo, which is a breakthrough for Indonesian film industry. Fadli Zone said that Indonesia is discussing the chance of being the co-host of Waves 2026. Fadli Zone also said that the meeting was deliberately held as a form of cultural diplomacy. According to him, cultural diplomacy is a strong tool to build peace and global resilience. And he also said that learning from India, we must be able to build a cultural ecosystem that connects artists, industry, and technology strategically. Fadli Zone's visit at Waves 2025 India reminds us the importance of cultural diplomacy to build peace and global resilience. Well, that's all from me. Thank you for your attention. Amr Aditya reporting. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, viewers. You're watching the news in focus with me, Nikita Khaira. I'll present to you about the hot news for today. Minister of Primary and Secondary Education, Mr. Abdul Muti, at the end of 2024. Good afternoon, viewers. You're watching in the news in focus with me, Nikita Khaira. I'll present to you about the hot news for today. Minister of Primary and Secondary Education, Mr. Abdul Muti, at the end of 2024 said there were 25 priority programs ready to run in 2025. One of the leading priority programs is the 13-year compulsory education program as stated in the 2025 to 2029 National Medium-Term Development Plan, by adding 1 year of preschool education. The 13 years compulsory education program aims to address the inequality of access to education that still exists in various regions. The program is designed to ensure that access to education is more widespread for all children in Indonesia, from early childhood education to high school graduation. In addition, this program is also considered important to improve human resources in Indonesia. The 13-year compulsory education is our commitment to improve the quality of human resources, Mu'ti said Tuesday, October 22nd. The 13-year compulsory education program is a major step towards ensuring that future generations have sufficient knowledge and skills to face global challenges. Indonesians are also expected to have an improved quality of life with quality education. Audience, that's all of the news for today. We meet again in the same time and same channel. Thank you for your attention and goodbye.
Good morning, everyone. A shocking phenomenon has once again surfaced in Indonesian education sector. Hundreds of students who have graduated from elementary school we report to be unable to read fluently upon entering junior high school. This issue has been relevant in several regions, particularly in remote and suburban areas. Education experts cite several key causes behind this problem. First, the low quality of teaching in elementary school due to a lack of qualified teachers. Many schools in remote areas still rely on honorary teachers who have no received proper training. Second, an assessment system takes place too much and emphasis on graduation without considering student basic competence such as reading and writing. As a result, many students advance to the next grade and even graduate without mastering these fundamental skills. The lack of parental involvement in children's learning process, especially at home, reading activity are rarely encouraged due to the limit of access to and enforced attention to literacy habits. The Ministry of Education has announced plans to review the student assessment system and enhance teacher training. The government is also promoting early literacy as part of its national education development priorities. Thank you everyone, and goodbye.
Good morning, everyone. Low quality of education is existence of a significant gap between the quality of education in urban and rural areas, as well as the lack of equal distribution of facilities and teaching staff. A new story about the low quality of education in Indonesia often highlights several key issues such as quality of education in East Karawang. Still unequal high school dropout rate. Miss lambat. Good morning, everyone. Low quality of education is existence of a significant gap between the quality of education in urban and rural areas, as well as the lack of equal distribution of facilities and teaching staff. New story about low quality of education in Indonesia often highlight several key issues such as quality of education in East Karawang, still unequal high school dropout rate. In East Karawang, education quality remains uneven with a high dropout rate. This is through limited access to school, low teacher quality in remote areas, and a curriculum that lacks relevance to student needs. A current development to realize a professor and advanced Indonesia and acted successfully with strong competitiveness is needed. However, this is still hampered by various educational problems in Indonesia. This problem not only hampers the quality of education but also the unequal access to quality education. Low quality education is caused by various factors such as teacher quality infrastructure, less relevant curriculum, and a lack of public awareness of the important education. I'm Mutiara Albitia reporting.
Good morning everyone. From TikTok dance to traditional craft, the new generation is blending old and new in the coolest way. I'm Kuna Jessica Lingga, coming to you from Al-Azhar 35 Junior High School Karawang, where culture isn't just preserved by reimagined. Jaipong, a traditional dance from West Java, Indonesia, continues to captivate audience with its vibrant movements and rhythmic music. Originating in 1970s, Jaipong was created by Haji Swanda from Karawang and Gugum Gumbira from Bandung, who was inspired by traditional Sundanese performing arts such as Ketuk Tilu and Pencak Silat. This dynamic dance is characterized by its energetic movements, expressive gesture, and the strong interplay between the dancer and the music, usually performed by female dancers in colorful traditional costumes. Jaipong reflects themes of flirtation, charm, and elegance. There are also Jaipong performances featuring male dancers either as a pair with female dancer or in a male group. Male dancers usually perform stronger and more dynamic movements. The music that accompanies Jaipong combines drums, gongs, and traditional instruments to create a lively and engaging rhythm. Despite the rise of modern entertainment, Jaipong continues to thrive in cultural festivals, school programs, and international showcases. It is not only a form of artistic expression, but also a tool for cultural education and preservation. The Indonesian government and various cultural organizations have made efforts to promote Jaipong as a part of nation's intangible heritage. The Jaipong dance will remain a treasured tradition for generations to come. Thank you very much for your great attention. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Kuna Jessica Lingga reporting. Good morning, everyone. From TikTok dance to traditional craft, the new generation is blending old and new in the coolest way. I'm Queen Jessica Lingga, coming to you from Al 35 Junior High School, Karawang, where culture isn't just preserved, it's reimagined. Jaipong, a traditional dance from West Java, Indonesia, continues to captivate audience with its vibrant movements and rhythmic music. Originating in the 1970s, Jaipong was created by Haji Swanda from Karawang and Gugum Gumbira from Bandung. Was inspired by traditional Sundanese performing arts such as Katuk Tilu and Pancak This dynamic dance is characterized by its energetic movements, expressive gesture, and the strong interplay between the dancer and the music, usually performed by female dancers in colorful traditional costumes. Jaipong reflects themes of flirtation, strength, and elegance. There are also Jaipong performances featuring male dancers, either as a pair with female dancers or in a male group. Male dancers usually perform stronger and more dynamic movements. The music that accompanies Jaipong combines drums, gongs, and other traditional entertainments to create a lively and engaging rhythm. Despite the risk of modern entertainment, Jaipong continues to thrive in cultural festivals, school programs, and international showcases. It is not only a form of artistic expression, but also a tool for cultural education and preservation. The Indonesian government and various cultural organizations have made efforts to promote Jaipong as an important part of the nation's intangible heritage. The Jaipong dance will remain a treasured tradition for generations to come. Thank you very much for your great attention. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Kuna Jessica Linggal reporting.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nestled in a remote region, the Baduy people are divided into two groups, the Inner Baduy and the Outer Baduy. Both groups are known for their strong dedication for traditional living, with the Inner Baduy completely rejecting the modern technology, even electricity. The Inner Baduy live in harmony with nature, guided by spiritual beliefs passed down through generations. Their simple lifestyle is not merely a preference, but a deep expression of their identity. Traditional clothing, a unique language, and strict custom helps protect the purify for their culture from outside influence. Amid rapid modernization, the Baduy tribe's firm commitment to simplicity and cultural preservation has caught global attention, while the world
continues to evolve, the Baru people remind us their holding onto tradition can be powerful act of resistance and pride. In a world that never stops changing, the Baru people remind us that preserving tradition not step backward, but a powerful act of identity and resilience. I'm Prabar Arya Satya Gunawan reporting from Al Azhar 35 Junior High School Karawang.
Good morning everyone. Tensions have escalated in Depok, West Java following the arrest of a local mass organization leader on charges of extortion and violent intimidation. The arrest occurred early Monday morning, sparking protests from dozens of the leader's supporters. What began as a demonstration quickly turned violent, with some protesters attacking law enforcement and setting a police patrol car on fire outside the station. Eyewitnesses reported thick smoke and loud shouting as the mob grew aggressive. Authorities responded quickly, deploy additional forces to secure the area and restore order. Local officials have condemned the violence and urged calm. Currently, the area has been secure and investigation is underway. Police Chief Kombes Pol Arya Putra state will not tolerate violence and will take action against all involved. Several individuals have already been detained for questioning. This incident raised concern about the influence of certain mass organizations and their potential threats to public safety. It has sparked broader debates on the balance between civil liberties and law enforcement in maintaining public order. Reporting from Karawang, I'm Zifran Syawal, signing off.
Good morning, everyone. Color, rhythm, and tradition come alive today as a city celebrates cultural pride. I'm Brasera Wibowo reporting from Al-Azhar 35 Junior High School, Karawang, where heritage is not only celebrated but kept alive. The Bajo tribe, known as sea nomads, have lived in harmony with the ocean for centuries, found in areas like Wakatobi and Sulawesi. They are famous for their ability to dive over 20 meters without equipment, relying only on their lung capacity. Traditionally, living on boats called lepa-lepa, many houses reside the stilt house over coral reefs, forming beautiful floating villages. Their lives center around the sea, guided by spiritual belief and ritual passed down through generations. Their unique lifestyle have attracted the attention of researchers and travelers alike, who are fascinated by the Bajo people's deep connection to nature. Despite the challenge of the modernization, the Bajo continue to uphold their tradition, showing the world that cultural identity can thrive even in changing time. So, who are the Bajo? They are an indigenous maritime community living in coastal regions like Sulawesi and Wakatobi, who for centuries have maintained a seafaring lifestyle because of their dependence on the ocean. They dive deeply and build floating homes as part of their cultural survival. That's all for today's report. I'm Brasera Wibowo. Thank you.
Good morning, viewers. On April 2025, the police in Jakarta successfully arrested a theft suspect who had long been wanted. The suspect, identified as RA, is alleged to have been involved in a series of thefts in various areas in and around Jakarta. The arrest occurred after the police received information from residents who saw the Miss itunya nggak ke ini ke Good morning, viewers. On April 2025, the police in Jakarta successfully arrested a theft suspect who had long been wanted. The suspect, identified as RA, is alleged to have been involved in a series of thefts in various areas in around Jakarta. The arrest occurred after the police received information from residents who saw the suspect around the Tanah Abang market. According to the Central Jakarta Police Chief, Commissioner Andi Wijaya, RA, had committed more than 10 thefts in various locations, including residential homes and businesses. The modus operandi used by the suspect was to break into doors or windows at night when the occupants were sleeping or the businesses were closed. Additionally, the suspect was known to use sophisticated tools to avoid alarms and surveillance cameras. During the arrest, the police found evidence in the form of tools for breaking into houses and several stolen items such as jewelry, cash, and electronics. RA did not resist arrest and was immediately taken to the police station for further investigation. During the interrogation process, the suspect admitted that they had been committing thefts for more than 2 years and that his stolen goods were used to meet daily needs and finance his luxurious lifestyle. Commissioner Andi Wijaya stated that the police would continue to investigate the case to uncover any possible accomplices and to recover more stolen items. The suspect will face charges under the Indonesian Criminal Code, which could result in a lengthy prison sentence if convicted. The police also urged the public to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activities to prevent further crimes. I'm Sandria Aninita from 9-2 reporting.
Good evening, viewers. Part of Smith's strategy to pump up the popularity of Piper's YouTube channel was called The Squad. Some members of the squad said that they wouldn't get breaks, they were doing very little schooling, and they barely slept. So in 2022, Laurie and Matthew Sarlson filed a lawsuit in California against Tiffany Smith, Hunter Hill, and Piper Raquel. Now, in the legal complaint that was filed out in California, the plaintiffs allege, quote, Ms. Smith would often boast to plaintiffs and others about being the madam of YouTube and the pimp of YouTube, and that she makes kiddie porn. Here's another allegation that behind the scenes, the plaintiffs, some of whom were featured in the documentary, they claim they were subjected to all sorts of unprofessional behavior. For example, the filing states, Ms. Smith also frequently pushed, quote, struck Corinne D and yanked her hair while on and off set. Quote, during a thumbnail shoot for a YouTube video, Ms. Smith demanded that plaintiff Sophie F take her clothes off, and ultimately made it appear that Sophia F was fully naked. Ms. Smith also frequently told the male plaintiffs to take their shirts off for photos and videos because sex sells. For purposes of creating thumbnail photos for Piper's YouTube videos, Ms. Smith would frequently tell plaintiffs, including Piper, to make sexy kissing faces for thumbnails, to push their butts out and to suck their stomachs in. Wear something sexier too, and would otherwise position plaintiffs' bodies in explicitly and sexually suggestive positions. On another occasion, when plaintiff Aiden M asked Ms. Smith for a thumbnail for his channel, Ms. Smith told Aiden M that she wanted to kill herself and that when she's lying in a pool of her own blood, Aiden M would post her dead body on Instagram. So these wild stories about what it was like working with Piper Raquel, Tiffany Smith, and Hunter Hill and the squad, the number of creators sharing behind the scenes industry insights is increasing. It's all we have for you now on the news. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Sophia Acacia. I'll speak to you next time.
Good morning, viewers. The South Jakarta Metropolis Criminal Investigation Unit team managed to catch the perpetrator of a car theft parked in an office in the Tebes Matapang area. The perpetrator was arrested less than 24 hours after the victim filed a police report. Head of the South Jakarta Metropolis Criminal Investigation Unit, AKP, Igo Fazar Akbar, explained that the incident began when the victim with the initial PH parked his car with it locked on Tuesday, April 8, 2025. The victim then went into the office. However, when he was about to go home, his beloved car was gone from the parking lot. The reporter parked the car at around 10 a.m., at which the time car was locked. Then the reporter went into the office. Then when the reporter left the office at around 7 p.m. and saw that the car was no longer in the parking lot. When checked via CCTV camera, it turned out that the car was taken away by a man who was later identified with the initial RWS, who's the victim's own friend. The car was seen leaving the building taken by the perpetrator at around 15 past 11 a.m. Feeling that his car has been stolen, the victims immediately reported it to the South Jakarta Metro Police. It didn't take long for the Criminal Investigation Unit Optional Team, led by the Vice Control Sub-Unit Head Ibda Aditya Aji Pratama, to immediately move to investigate. As a result, the perpetrator was arrested in the Karangmelati area, Demak, on April 9, 2025, at that place. After being followed up, the Criminal Investigation Unit Optional Team arrested the perpetrator at the residence of one of his friends who wanted to buy a car. We hope that incidents like this will not happen again in the future. Real steps are needed from various parties, both from law enforcement, the government, and the community. Increasing security patrols, installing surveillance cameras at vulnerable points, and educating residents about the importance of vigilance can be part of the solution. I'm Fia Sarasona Sarani from Line 2 reporting.
Good afternoon, everyone. On February 4, 2025, a devastating traffic accident occurred near the Ciawi toll gate in Bogor Regency, West Java, Indonesia, resulting in 8 fatalities and 11 injuries. The victims included passengers from two cars and a truck. Involved in the collision, a truck suffered brake failure and crashed into two cars at the toll gate, causing severe damage and casualties. The incident took place late at night on Tuesday, February 4, 2025, near the Ciawi toll gate in Bogor Regency, West Java, Indonesia. Preliminary investigation indicate that the truck brake failed, leading to the collision. The truck, unable to stop due to brake failure, collided with two cars at the toll gate, resulting in significant damage and multiple casualties. Emergency services responded promptly, transporting the injured to Chawit General Hospital. Authorities are conducting a thorough investigation and determine the exact cause of the brake failure and assess any potential negligence. This incident highlights the critical importance of regular vehicle maintenance and strict adherence to safety protocol to prevent such tragedies on the road. I am Alif Alpasa reporting.